Anchors up, sails at full. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing right, Jared. Doing all right. How are you doing?
I've been better, but we're not going to talk about any of that. We're going to talk about Ohio State football. Ohio State football.
And hopefully Buckeye fans are feeling better about it this weekend, right, Jared?
You know, here's the thing. Someone, I wish I remember who it was. I don't want to go looking for it, though. Someone expertly pointed out in our Discord that, and he says, Ohio State fans are funny. To be fair, like any big fan base, fans are like this. They're like, oh man, Western Kentucky's offense is really, really good, and they're going to put like 20 plus points on us. Oh my God. Ohio State holds them to 10 points. Well, it was just Western Kentucky. Okay. It was just Western Kentucky. If you listened to our, you have streamer mode on, so we can't see his name, but there's the screen cap. You know who you are. Here's the thing. We said this on the Know Your Enemy show. If you listen to the Know Your Enemy show, we told you that this Western Kentucky offense is a really, really good offense. This quarterback has the potential to make an NFL roster. He threw for more yards than anyone else in college football in 2022. He has a very, very solid 3 or 4 really good offensive linemen in front of him. A really deep core of wide receivers, including at least one guy who's pretty damn good. And they didn't really have anything special in the running backs, but that's okay because they didn't really run the ball. But this really is and was a very good offensive Western Kentucky football team. Kyle and I said on the Know Your Enemy show that holding them under 20 points would be an achievement. We both predicted Western Kentucky over 20 points. What was our final score predictions, Kyle? We both had, like, one of us had them 21, the other one had them 24, something like that. You don't have to look it up. But point of the matter is that Ohio State, especially the past 3 seasons, has looked way, way, way worse against way, way, way worse quarterbacks and offenses in general. Final score predictions. I had 45-24. Kyle had 42-21. Secondary is chock full of absolute dogs this year, Esquire says. 100%. 100%. Secondary is so solid right now. The linebackers are, I don't even want to say they're solid. Like Denzel Burke is a monster.
Absolutely.
He is playing as good as I've seen. And this is saying a lot because I'm not just saying in the past couple years, I'm saying, this decade, this past 2 decades, playing as good as any cornerback I've seen play at Ohio State. Now, I'm not saying he's the best one, but I'm saying he's playing as good as any of the cornerbacks I've seen play for Ohio State in the past 10, 20 years. He incited an unsportsmanlike conduct flag against Western Kentucky by talking so much shit. Incited, if that's not what I said. Yeah, he absolutely, he got into Blue Smith's head a bit, and got a cheap 15 yards. And then not only that, listen, the Western Kentucky quarterback was good, but cocky. He thought he could throw at Burke. He couldn't. He tried a couple occasions. He couldn't. Burke, he learned his lesson. He stopped throwing at Burke, and then Burke was still finding a way to impact plays. He caused a fumble. He forced a fumble that turned into a touchdown. He forced the 15-yard penalty. Burke had an absolute monster day. So much scrappy energy from that Western Kentucky quarterback. Yeah, he's a real. Never mind. Not going to do it. Not going to do that bit right now.
Yeah, it looked like early on that Austin Reed was going to start lighting Ohio State's defense on fire there. Like
one good drive.
Just go to the
1.5 good drives.
Yeah, let me go to the drives here. So the first one, 10 plays, 43 yards. Ohio State got them, stopped them on a 4th down conversion. Okay.
He's better than any Bama quarterback has right now, Woody. You're absolutely correct in that. Austin Reed's better than any Alabama quarterback.
Second drive, 11 plays, 31 yards, and got a field goal. Then the third drive, they had 7 plays, 75 yards. So they were moving on those first 3 drives against Ohio State.
Yeah.
And my worry is like, okay, how many points is Western Kentucky really going to score here? Because yeah, it could have easily have been 14, 21, 17 points.
Sure.
Going halfway into the second quarter there, but hats off to this Ohio State defense though. They played just lights out, especially after Western Kentucky's third drive there.
It was over after that.
It was over.
Well, yeah. No, I forgot about one of the drives. Yes, Western Kentucky had 3 good drives against Ohio State, and this was again a very good Western Kentucky offense. You were never going to hold this team to under 200 total yards. That was never going to happen. That wasn't, that was not a realistic goal. But what do? You force. They decide to go for it on 4th down a couple times. You stop them. You hold them to a field goal on one of the drives where they had a really nice drive, but you held them to a field goal. The point being is that, well, actually on the field goal, that was actually the fumble. It wasn't even necessarily a great drive per se, but point is that they started deep into your own, semi-deep into your own territory, and you held them to a field goal. You're not going to hold teams. You're not going to hold good teams to like 0 yards. It's not going to happen. And I'm not saying Western Kentucky is a good team, but they are a good offense. It's the best offense Ohio State's played so far this year. It is the best offense Ohio State's played so far this year. And this is, I would say, arguably, maybe inarguably, their best defensive performance. Not even considering the level of talent. I think the team is just sort of coming together.
I mean, to be fair, Jared, like
Knowles is finally settling in.
They haven't played the greatest. They haven't played the greatest opponents either. And I mean, you got to say that first and foremost. But still,
are you talking about Western Kentucky, or
just Ohio State in general? Their first 3 games hasn't been the greatest competition, but especially what we saw this weekend where you had a lot of top 10 teams that were struggling too. I mean, obviously, you saw Alabama struggle heavily. Georgia struggled heavily. Michigan struggled in the first half against Bowling Green there. It was tough sledding for a lot of teams this weekend
Again, Kyle, we told you this was and is a very, very good Western Kentucky offense, and we told you that on Thursday. We told you that on Know Your Enemy. We did also tell you that their defense was pretty bad. To be fair. And I love Kyle McCord had a great game. The offensive line had their best game of the year. The wide receivers were doing whatever the hell they wanted, and you do feel good about all that. You should feel good about all of that. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to totally discount it. But we did tell you that defense was going to be pretty bad. The type of team Knowles wheelhouse to scheme against, very Big 12 adjacent. That's a very valid point, Esquire. Knowles has settled in, and the defense has settled into Knowles' scheme too. Like that just takes time. It just honestly takes time.
Yeah, we all knew it was going to take time too. And last year, we saw what this defense could eventually be. Just needed another year under Jim Knowles.
I think
guideline here. And
a lot of what you saw from the defense last year was the defense looking great at times, but then there'd be like a little breakdown, like one person or maybe two people like not quite executing the play correctly, and it would be a huge play. And, you know, that's the growing pains of a new defense, and they are playing much, much better now. Yeah. Petition for Missile Milton to be a new board nickname. I'm okay with that. I approve. Kyle, do you want to anything else in just sort of our opening thoughts? Do you want to move to the grades?
Sure. So, I mean, the big topic is Kyle McCord. How is he going to do? The first 2 games, he was okay. A lot of people are having, to be honest, unrealistic expectations to see what Kyle McCord should be doing here. And I think he responded really well. He had that fumble in the second drive, but then after that second fumble, 5 straight touchdown drives.
Yeah.
And McCord passes 83% of his passes completed and over 300 yards in the game, 3 touchdowns. He looked so comfortable, especially after that fumble. He was looking very, very comfortable and was picking apart this Western Kentucky team that he absolutely should have been able to do.
And it's also, by the way, it's a lot easier for Kyle McCord to be a good quarterback when you're not being put so far behind the sticks, because the offensive line was blocking well, which was allowing TreVeyon to run well. It's a lot easier to be a quarterback when you don't have to get all the yards yourself. It's a lot easier to be a quarterback on 2nd or 3rd and 3 as opposed to 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 10. It's a lot easier to be a quarterback when you're not immediately behind the sticks.
Ohio State in the first half here, because that was where they did the majority of their damage was in the first half.
In the second quarter, if we're being honest.
Yeah. 4 for 5 on 3rd downs in the first half. Exactly what we wanted to see is Ohio State being able to convert those 3rd downs. And yes, the very first 3rd down, Ohio State did not convert, but they did get the 4th down conversion.
Weird miss by McCord.
It was.
As far as but I tell you this, as far as if we're just talking like bad throws, his only one of the day? Question
Perhaps,
mark?
Yeah.
Chat, is there a second bad throw by McCord that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head? I mean, you know, they're obviously not all going to be completed all the time. Luckily his 4th down throw was high. Otherwise it it was getting picked. I don't know. I'd have to look at that again. The very next throw. I'd have to look again. So yeah, maybe it was 2 bad throws in a row, but I think
no, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, that was a very tight window, right over the linebacker and right into. Was it? I don't think it was Marvin. I forget who it was thrown to, but yeah, it was Ibuka. That was a very good throw, but yeah, you're right. A little bit lower, and that would have been tipped, and it could have been easily intercepted.
Or in the exact right window, it's a completion. Like it's, you know, maybe he was, if he has that throw again, maybe in the second quarter when he was feeling himself a little bit more, maybe he threads that needle.
Yeah.
All right. We're talking an awful lot about Kyle McCord. Kyle, do you want to move into the grades?
Yep. Let's go ahead. Yeah. So coaching staff, I'm going to give the coaching staff an A. I think they had a game plan here and executed it exactly how they wanted to. They, especially the first quarter, the first quarter and a half, they were kind of a bend don't break kind of defense, but then really got after Reed and made him uncomfortable. And he only completed 57% of his passes and just over 200 yards passing. That's a big success on the defense side, and offensively, this offense was hitting it on all cylinders there. You pretty much, other than the fumble, you scored a touchdown in every drive in that first half there, and that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
What we expected to see. So yeah. I'd give an A.
Absolutely. And by the way, included in this A was the choice to make McCord the quarterback. I like Devin Brown. I think Devin Brown has a future in college football. Depending upon how the rest of the year goes for Kyle McCord, we'll find out if that future is at Ohio State or not. If Kyle McCord stays, Devin Brown's gonna transfer. Like that's not me like trying to transfer him on his behalf. I think that's just the reality of quarterbacking in college football in the year 2023. And Devin Brown's going to be awesome for Alabama next year. Makes sense to me. I mean, Devin Brown just needs to get more consistent, I would say. But anyway, we're not talking about Devin Brown. We're talking about the coaching. We are also talking about the quarterbacking.
A as well for me. I'm
gonna go straight A for Kyle McCord. He's progressing in the correct direction. Yes. He was given, I think, some easy throws early in the game that he missed. He gave up a fumble, which led to points for the other team. I'm not going to give him an A+ quite yet, but and also we have to keep in mind that the opponent was bad. Western Kentucky, again, really good offense. Suspects being nice, a pretty bad defense. So I'm not gonna break the seal off of the A+ for Kyle McCord quite yet, but he is absolutely 100% trending in the correct direction. He's exactly where you want him to be, as far as just being a third game starting quarterback. Mark Givler had a great tweet this weekend. Yes, I'm gonna still call it a tweet. Shut up. Basically comparing the stat lines of Justin Fields' first 3 games, CJ Stroud's first 3 games, and Kyle McCord's first 3 games, and they are all very roughly equivalent. That's it. Like, Stroud, I think, had more touchdowns and more yards than either of the other two, but also had more interceptions, and his completion percentage wasn't bad. A lot of that sort of being a product of having to score because the defense was so bad that year. But it's roughly equivalent, especially comparing Kyle McCord to Justin Fields more than CJ Stroud. It's a pretty, like I said, similar stat line.
Yep.
Well, for passing.
Move on to the running backs here.
Yeah.
Going to give him an A as well. Trey is looking like his old self from 2021 here. He's running with a purpose. He's not getting knocked down after that first hit. He's looking like the 2021 Trey that we've seen before.
His cuts. He wasn't making his cuts last year. Why? Because the bridge of his foot was messed up. Like, I don't know why people have to. We're literally on a podcast right now where we analyze what we see, and I'm telling everyone else that you didn't have to overanalyze what you were seeing with Trey last year. Why was Trey so bad? Oh, gee, I don't know. Was he able to cut like he could normally cut? Oh, could he not? Is it maybe because his foot was injured? Chip also looked really, really good in this game. And we'll talk about the offensive line next, but they were actually giving the running backs an opportunity to run. And yes, Austin, we saw Evan Pryor play.
Yes, Evan Pryor got 3 touches in this game here. I know it's a Sloop Cat favorite in our Discord here, which, by the way, discord.thesloopcast.com. Come join us. It's a lot of fun in the weekends and weekdays. Just come join out and hang out with us.
Always be plugging.
Always be plugging. All right, A's. So let's move on to the offensive line, Jared.
By the way, just before we leave the running backs, the Discord collectively has settled. It wasn't a vote. It's just we are all throwing a bunch of options out there. And I think yes, I think Austin gets. I think Austin was the first one to come up with the Trey nickname. We've settled on Chop, Chip, and Chisel. Chip, Chop, and Chisel. So that is the three-headed running back monster. It was me, but also mentioned the 204 yards. Do it, you coward. You don't have to call me a coward. I was all you had to. You could have stopped that. You could have stopped that chat one sentence short. I still would have done it. We don't have to name call. Austin's over unders. He set the over under at 204.5 for the rushing yards for the day, and it hit 204 exactly. And Austin was very, very proud of himself. Mm-hmm. Austin, do you see how that sentiment I was expressing would have been a lot nicer had I stopped it a sentence sooner?
All right, we got to move on. Let's move on to the offensive line, Jared.
Offensive line.
You look at the stats here. Yeah, you look at the stats here. Ohio State rushed 6.2 yards per carry. Only let up one sack, but I'm going to put that on McCord for that one, not on the offensive line here. So
I disagree.
So much better than what we've seen in the first two games there. And Simmons, was it the first touchdown? Which one was it? It was the first touchdown for TreVeyon, where you saw Simmons get out and just had a clean block there to pave the way for TreVeyon to get that 21-yard touchdown. By far Simmons' best game so far here. So I'd give the offensive line a B+. Much better than what we've seen.
Yeah, they're still the weakest squad on the team. And they're still my biggest concern heading into South Bend next week. My biggest concern first, second, and third. It's 100% my biggest worry point. Tight end, Kyle, tight end.
How did the tight ends do here, Jared?
I think
Stover
they did
Stover
well.
5 catches, 90 yards. G. Scott had 2 catches as well.
That's had a fumble. Which Tate's was there to recover. So that's good.
There was that, yeah. So I'd say like an A-. I would say I'd say an A- for the tight ends.
Okay. He agreed with me, Austin. So sorry, we're keeping the minuses. B+ for the offensive line. Woody says Simmons handled their best pass rusher. It's a good point, because like as much as I am crapping on the Western Kentucky defense, they do have a really good edge rusher. You know what? I've been convinced. I'm gonna bump the offensive line up to an A-, because once again, and the thing I probably also need to keep in mind, we grade based off of expectation, and our expectation for the offensive line is considerably lower at this point. So with those two things in consideration, I'm gonna bump my offensive line grade up to an A-.
All right. We are moving on to the wide receivers. Marvin Harrison had himself a 126-yard game and a touchdown. Emeka, 57 yards, 2 touchdowns. And freshman Carnell Tate with his first Buckeye touchdown as well.
I'm gonna throw the
solid A for the wide receivers for me.
I'm gonna throw the plus in there for Tate, getting his first career touchdown, and also the aforementioned fumble recovery that Tate was there to pick up, and that helps them get the plus. But also, what helps them get the plus, they were blocking downfield for Trey like monsters. Fleming, especially. There was a crap holding call on Ibuka, and I'll say it was a crap holding call. Now, am I biased? 100% I'm biased, but so we expect them to burn the Western Kentucky secondary. That's the expectation. So that would get them an A for doing their jobs and doing it well. I give them the plus for blocking so exceptionally well.
All right. Moving on to the defensive side, Jared.
Sorry. So did you do a straight A for wide receiver?
Yeah, straight A. All right. Defensive line. So I'm going to go with expectations, kind of like what you were talking about before here. Better. Well, I'll just start. Tyleik Williams is a monster. Tyleik Williams just played lights out. I still want to see these defensive ends being able to create more pressure. Now, they did as the game went along. I think the offensive line for Western Kentucky just started getting tired out, and you started seeing Sawyer and JT and Hamilton starting to get more pressure on the quarterback. But Reed's a smart quarterback, and he was able to get rid of the ball very quickly too.
Yes,
but I still want to see more from these defensive ends. But I think Tyleik's saving them from me giving them a lower grade. So I'm going to give the defensive line an A minus.
Austin says Kenyatta needs more playing time. He's a pass rush monster. By the way, not just a pass rush monster. It was late in the game where he stopped it was either a third or fourth and short run where he just crashed down the line and obliterated the play from behind. He's not just a pass rush monster. He looks like a full-fledged defensive end at this point. And we're doing the entire defensive line. I thought Tyleik played incredibly well. I thought JT played really well. As Kyle points out, this is a really good quarterback who was getting rid of the ball quickly. Sawyer was disruptive. I agree, Woody. And by the way, and I know I've said this a dozen times, this is a good Kentucky. Talk about Kansas State later. Western Kentucky offensive line. It's a really good Western Kentucky offensive line, especially at the tackles. They have a really good center and really good tackles. A little bit to be desired in the guards because they got their guards stolen out of the transfer portal last year. This is a team that only gave up 10 sacks, and they're returning 3 of the people. Is a team, including the tackles in the center, is a team that only gave up 10 sacks all of last year. They only gave up 10 sacks all of last year. And even if Ohio State only had 2 sacks in this game, I felt like they were either on the quarterback's back or in his face the entire game. Almost the entire game, especially once you got past like this first 3 drives by Western Kentucky. Yeah. I thought they were disruptive, even if they didn't get like a ton of sacks. And again, against a good offensive line, I'm going to give the defensive line an A.
Yeah, I agree with Woody saying that Sawyer was it was Sawyer's most disruptive game, was very close getting home a lot. That was a lot of the defensive line, well, linebackers too. I mean, I know a lot of people give crap about Eichenberg too, not being able to get there in time, but he was just as disruptive too, having Reed get rid of the ball quicker than he would like to have as well. Right. But yeah, so many of them were just
Again,
half a second away from getting a hit or getting a sack there.
It is a very smart, very seniored, very experienced quarterback that Western Kentucky had. He knew the game plan was to get rid of the ball quickly, and he did.
All right, so we had a B+ in here.
What did you do for the defensive line?
Austin gave the defensive line an A-. I said expected much more. He said a B-. Yeah, defensive line a B- for Austin. Woody gave him a B+ here, but yeah, I give an A. Jared says, or I said A-. Jared gave an A. All right, linebackers.
I mean, we can't get too like caught up in stats when it comes to the defensive line at this point, I think.
Correct. Yeah. All right, linebackers here. Steel Chambers, monster game for Steel Chambers. Should have had himself a touchdown in this game, but shortly after not coming up with that fumble recovery, he did get his turnover. He did get that nice interception. Steel Chambers had a really good game. Eichenberg, just a monster, being where he needs to be and making those sure tackles as well too. And Melton's really coming along too. I really like what I saw from Mitchell Melton as well. Definitely keep an eye out for number 17 as the season goes along. So I give the linebackers like an A. I think they played very, very well.
All right. We agree. We're going A's for the linebackers.
Austin says A+ for the LBers. Tommy and Steele are the best linebacker duo in the country.
And this is coming from a person who was the president of the Tommy Eichenberg anti-fan club last year. So he means it.
I can.
No, we don't say that here. I'm gonna say that's racist. I'll say it.
All right, corners.
Kyle, this is only the second time I've done this year. A+.
Yeah, A+ for the corners as well. A+. And you might as well put an A+ for the safeties as well too. I'm just going to combine them both. A+ is for corners and safeties. Both played both positions played outstanding here. I mean we already talked a lot about Denzel
Austin.
Burke and how well he played here. I thought Ebignoson played really well too. There was a while that they were picking on Hancock, and Hancock had a bad series, but I think for the most part he played very well too. I think if Hancock can really clean that up a little bit, man, it's going to be tough throwing against Ohio State here. If Hancock can really come around here, I'm just nitpicking here, but if he can really come around and not having those mental mistakes there, it's just outstanding corners. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from the corners already.
I'm not going to be quite as generous on the safety side. I'm going to go with a standard A. I'm not going to meet you on your A+ for the safeties. I think Proctor had a good game. I don't have a lot of negative things to say, but I don't know. I felt like the corners, the wide receivers were disruptive in this football game. The cornerbacks were disruptive in this football game. And I thought the safeties did exactly what they're supposed to do. Plus, Tommy robbed Proctor of a sure pick. That did happen.
That did happen, but you can't really blame him. He couldn't see him behind him. And he was just making a play.
He's sticking up for Proctor because I didn't give the safeties the A+. He's not picking on Tommy. He's sticking up for Proctor because I refused to give the safeties the A+. By the way, included in the cornerbacks on the A+, I wanted to mention this. You had a pick 6.
You did.
And let's not forget that Denzel Burke was the one that forced the fumble that led to the Tyleek touchdown. Mm-hmm. So both of those touchdowns, defensive touchdowns, were caused by the cornerbacks. An absolutely exceptional game from the corners. I haven't felt this good about the corners in
It's been
5 years, 5+ years.
Yeah. All right, special teams, Jared. What are you giving the special teams?
They were there. I don't have anything strong to say about the special teams one way or the other.
All right. Yeah, same here. Nothing special. So I'll give him an A-.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, they're
Exactly,
not getting the plus without a punt or kick return touchdown. That's for damn sure.
Yep.
Since Wade and Akuda. Yeah. I would say since Wade and Akuda.
Yep. All right, let's do some Buckeye leaves here, Jared. Who do you give your Buckeye leaf for the offense?
Let me switch back to this screen. All right. On the offensive side, I'm gonna go. Marv is such the easy answer. I think Trey is also a good answer. I kind of want to give it to Kyle McCord. Just because he's just taking great steps forward. He is so much better, and this is what you need. This is what you want. This is why I was preaching patience to everyone all off season. Whoever wins the quarterback job, just be patient. Just be patient. They're going to be a first-time starter. Please be patient. Kyle McCord's a different dude from week 1 to now. He's just a straight up different guy, and that's exactly what I don't want to say you expect to happen, but that you want to happen, that needed to happen. And, we are seeing that. Kyle McCord's on his way to becoming the next Ohio State quarterback. A lineage going, and no disrespect to anyone who came before Dwayne Haskins, but, a lineage of true quarterbacks going back to Dwayne Haskins.
I'm getting mine to Trey. My Buckeye leaf goes to Trey here.
That's fair. A totally fair and correct answer. I think there are several correct answers to this. You could have given it to any number of the 3 wide receivers.
Yeah. All right, chat. Who are you giving your offensive Buckeye leaf to? And Austin,
I see I
know you really want to
love.
give it to one particular person, but
the chat has been going Trey.
The chat says Trey as well. Okay. All right, defense. I'm going with my. With my boy.
What, are you just going to talk right away and steal the answer?
I am. Okay.
Okay.
You picked first for the offense. I'm picking first for the defense.
It's an obvious answer.
I'm going with my boy who's feasting all afternoon there. Tyreek Williams.
Oh. Okay.
I'm going with Tyreek Williams.
That is also. I was going Tyreek as my. I'll give it away because I'm still going to do it. I was going Tyreek wild card. I thought the obvious answer here was Denzel Burke.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's Denzel Burke. I've done nothing all episode but talk about Denzel Burke. It would be disingenuous of me not to give him the sticker here. I've said Denzel Burke's name more times this episode than we did during the entire off season, and for good reason.
So we got Burke and Tyreek and Steele in the chat here. All right, and the wild card. Any position here? Who would you give your wild card? Who would you give your wild card? Buckeyes.
I'm going Tyreek. It has to be on the defensive side. The defense played so lights out. The defense just played so lights out. And again, like we have to consider the opponent. We have to always consider the opponent. Western Kentucky has a crap defense, but a very good offense. This is a very, very good offense that Ohio State faced this weekend. And they knocked it out of the park. We have to.
They did.
And by the way, and this is just a thing that needs to be said. This is just a thing that needs to be said. Ohio State's defense through 3 games has scored the same number of touchdowns that they've given up. Ohio State's defense has scored 2 touchdowns and given up 2 touchdowns. Aside from a few field goals here or there, the defense has given up net 0 points.
I'll give my wild card to
Jared. You should
Steele.
share that stat I posted yesterday. Can you reshare it? Because you shared so many good stats yesterday, Austin.
I'll give my wild card to Steel Chambers.
Okay. Chat, who do you want to give your third Buckeye Leaf to? We want to get the chat involved on the third Buckeye Leaf.
So I saw Jordan Hancock earlier. Austin says Matthews Jr. with his pick 6. You could go Carnell Tate. Getting his first touchdown, Tate. Also saved a drive on a fumble recovery. Here's this stat Austin's reposting for us. As the chat comes to a consensus on the wild card Buckeye Leaf. OSU's first 3 games last year against their first Big Ten opponent and 2 non-conference opponents. I took Notre Dame. I took out Notre Dame to make it more even. Okay. I'm gonna say that again. This is Austin's stats comparing last year's team to this year's team to make it even. It's 1 Big Ten opponent and 2 non-conference opponents, not including Notre Dame from last year. So he's trying to make this as even as possible. Points per game last year, 18. Points per game this year, 6.6 repeating. The number will obviously go up as the level of opponent increases, but that is a substantial improvement. I 100% agree, Austin. 100%. Is Carnell Tate number 17? Yes, he is. Yep.
I think that they're deciding on Carnell Tate.
Yep. Got it.
When did Kyle's Avi get so goddamn hardcore?
All right, I think that's it, Jared. That is what we have here. I don't know if anybody has any questions you want to ask while we're wrapping up the show here, but yeah, I think overall very, very pleased what I saw from Ohio State this weekend here, and perfect timing as well, leading into the big game next weekend here.
Well, Ask Sloopcast comes before Kyle's Corner, Austin. That's why he was asking if y'all had any questions. So yeah, Kyle's done a lot of good plugging already as far as come join the Discord. We got a bunch of merch that's in 2 separate stores. Actual Sloopcast merch is available at merch.thesloopcast.com. We also have like a bunch of like nondescript, like just sort of like, I don't want to say generic, that makes it sound bad. It's not. I put a lot of hard work into it. I think it's good. But it's just like a lot of Ohio stuff. Doesn't look like podcast merch, which is the idea. It's not, I'm literally wearing a Cleveland t-shirt that I designed that you can also buy at merch.thesloopcast.com. No, that's the Sloopcast merch. The non-Sloopcast merch is 7071, all numerical, 7071 .thesloopcast.com. Y'all need to add more sarcasm like Tony Girdman, where everything they say is sarcasm almost. But that's his thing.
That is his thing.
Why I don't, I mean, I do kind of want to be Tony, but I don't want to be Tony. I want to be me. You know, I think the show I think this show is so good, but so funny. His show is so good and so funny. Well, I appreciate that we all love Tony here. That's for sure. But you are currently watching this show. So gotta love him. Kyle, do you have anything in Kyle's corner?
I think a lot of people, some people posted in our chat here. I thought it was worth sharing here. So, Ohio State welcomed a big time recruit in Chris Henry Jr. And so he got to come to Columbus, check out the team here, got to meet the players and do all that fun official visit stuff there. But damn, Jared, he's tall. He's tall here. Standing next to Marvin Harrison Jr. Makes Marvin Harrison Jr. look small.
Yeah. Someone has changed their name to Tony Gerdman and they're currently typing.
Oh no.
Let me say this. One, yeah, I don't want to totally discount what I'm seeing here, because he is very, very big. But I think it's probably worth noting that I think he's also a little bit closer to the camera.
Oh, not by much. Jeez.
He's a little bit close. Look at their shoulder positioning.
Yeah,
Henry's shoulder is towards the camera. His shoulder is in front of Marvin Harrison.
It's almost shoulder to shoulder. Just stop. Yeah, exactly. It's like 3 inches. Yeah, stop, Jared.
Depending upon how close the camera is, that y'all, I'm going to take y'all to Photoshop class and camera class and everything. It's that little bit of perspective can change a lot. Especially when you have to consider if he's that tall, the fact that his shoulders are at an angle, how much closer does that put him to the camera? Since he's obviously very broad because he's obviously very tall. Am I wrong?
Yes.
So therefore, if his shoulders are at a 45-degree angle, how much closer does that put him to the camera? As opposed to a parallel planed shouldered Marvin Harrison Jr. Depending upon their distance from the camera, that can make an incredible difference in the perceived height based off of the camera angle. It's like talking to Michigan fans about JT Barrett not being short. The positioning of the camera fucking matters. You can't tell from that camera angle that he's absolutely short because that camera isn't straight down the damn line. This is why they have the pylon cams now, because you need the damn thing right down the damn line.
All right, Jared, that's it. That's
just the tip crossed barely. First off, I know you're just trying to get a just the tip joke in, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that you were trying to get that joke in, but also
no Z spikes.
You don't know.
No Z spikes.
The JT Barrett short argument comes down to this.
No,
you can't overturn it because there wasn't a camera straight down the line. There was no camera angle to confirm nor deny the positioning of JT Barrett relevant to the first down marker. Ta-da.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the crew. We're not going to talk about them. All right, Jared, I think that's it. That is it for today's episode.
That is it for today's episode. So, yeah, that's all of that. Tonight's ending music was brought to you by the new bomb Turks, one of my favorite punk bands ever to come out of the Columbus area. So with all of that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, these are the new bomb Turks.